Well, it's been a while since we've had a serious fuck-up moment on this channel, and we just had one right now. And we had a great dress rehearsal of this video because I just got done recording it and went to turn off my wireless mic and it was already off because the batteries died mid-video. I totally pulled a Paul's Hardware.
Dude.
What?
It's so small.
You really think so?
What does the wife think?
Well, she says it gets the job done.
Mine's not that small.
The Fractal Design Node 202. It's not about how big it is, but all about how you use it. What you see next to me here is a lineup of graphics cards that I've been collecting, because we all know I collect graphics cards like old kids of the 50s collected baseball cards. Or maybe kids of the 80s too, because I collected baseball cards, and I've obviously moved on to bigger and better collecting. But I do like to play around with them for the sake of science, and today we are going to talk about Moore's Law. We're going to try to apply it to these graphics cards and see just how far we've come in the last 5 years with the NVIDIA side of graphics cards starting at the GTX 580. Now the reason why we're doing NVIDIA and not AMD is simply because I'm having a hard time sourcing the cards I need for AMD because most of them seem to have died in self-obliterating balls of fire over time. Because, you know, AMD graphics cards are pretty damn hot and a lot of them have seen premature death due to heat consumption and, you know, spontaneous combustion. If I can get my hands on a 5970, 6970, 7970, and what was it, a 290? Yeah, 290Xs, I already have those. And a 390X, because I don't have a reference 390X, I only have the one water-cooled unit. If I can get my hands on those cards, I will do the same thing I'm doing today for AMD, and then we'll do a collective video where we talk about the generational improvements in performance between both sides and see, you know, kind of who's really been progressing farther over time, and we'll just let those numbers do the talking. Now, this isn't an AMD versus NVIDIA video. Don't look at it that way. This is just the cards that I happen to have on hand. Now, this is my GTX 580. This is mine. I've actually had this card now for quite a while. I actually bought this card new back in November of 2010 when they launched. And this has got a lot of nostalgia with it. I actually sold it to a friend who upgraded his system, and when he did, I was like, dude, can I get that 580 back? And he actually gave me back the 580 so that I could do this video. Awesome. This card was overclocked and water-cooled when I had it, but clearly we put it back in stock reference format. We also have a GTX 680. This was sent over by Jacob at EVGA. Thank you, sir. This is one of his personal cards. My 680s, I sold my 680 that I had to my brother-in-law, so I don't have access to that anymore. GTX 780, this is actually Coconut Monkey's card. Thank you, Coconut Monkey, for letting me borrow your card. He's currently borrowing my GeForce GTX 980 Ti G1 Gaming from Gigabyte. And when I told him I was done doing the benchmarking, he was like, oh, do I have to give back the Gigabyte card? He referred to it as the GTR of graphics cards. I told him he had to give it back soon, but he can borrow it for a little while longer. This is his card. And then I do have my personal GTX 980 classified Kingpin. Actually, it is a classified Kingpin card. But yes, this is not a reference card. However, I did get a reference BIOS from EVGA that will slap into this card and turn this card into a reference card where it has no benefits of being the classified or the Kingpin or any of that. It will not boost any farther. It will not overclock any farther. It will not even increase the power target or any of that stuff. When I plug this in and just let it go, it will do the exact same behavior as a reference 980. So this is not going to be indicative of the classified Kingpin's performance. Keep that in mind. And then just for, you know, laughs, I went ahead and put the 980, or the 980, not a 980 Ti. We did a Titan X in there. Now, obviously, there's a couple of cards missing from this lineup. We are missing the original Titan, we are missing the Titan Black, we are missing the 980 Ti and the 780 Ti. Now the reason why I didn't include those is those cards are pretty much variations of the same architecture that was released incrementally throughout the year, rather than being a generational improvement to the lineup. What does that mean? It means there was no 680 Ti and there was no 580 Ti. So I decided in order to keep it as apples to apples as I can, we are comparing these bare bones 80 series lineup and then comparing it to the Titan X just because that's the single fastest GPU NVIDIA makes right now with all of its CUDA cores unlocked. And I figured it'd be fun just to see how that kind of mashed up. Maybe in the future when we get more TI models, because remember they started the TI model of the 80 series with the 780, maybe then we'll do this video again in another couple of years so we can do 5 or 6 cards and see how the generational gap of the TI cards have actually improved. So now that we've rambled on quite a bit, and I don't think there's anything else to mention here other than, again, all of these cards are reference design with the exception of the Kingpin on there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to do. Now I just want to talk about the methodology here real quick. The reason why I did all of this was I wanted to see if Moore's Law even came close to being true for graphics cards. And the reason why I mentioned that is because Moore's Law is something I've always been interested in, especially being a part of technology and loving computers and transistors and integrated circuits and all that sort of stuff. Moore's Law, Gordon Moore was actually a co-founder of something that is in my eye. Gordon Moore put this in my eye. What the hell? No, he didn't really do that. Don't get mad at him. Gordon Moore is a co-founder. Yeah, I guess he kind of is a core founder too. He is the I cannot say that. He is the co-founder of Intel, and he had an observation over the years, and especially on paper, that the amount of transistors in a dense integrated circuit had been doubling every 2 years. That's a pretty aggressive curve, and you consider they made that observation back in the 70s. Where we are now in the 2015, we have come a long way with billions of transistors in a single unit. Now, obviously, these GPUs are not going to hold true of being twice as fast every 2 years, or maybe it will. GPU performance, I don't know if that's going to integrate directly to the comparison of CPU performance, which is what they were more or less talking about then, because they didn't have graphics units then like we do now. So that's why we're doing this video. How far have we come? Let's go ahead and find out.
Transition.
Now obviously I only used Firestrike for this test, and the reason why I did that is it wouldn't have been fair to take the older cards and put them against newer titles, because remember, as the GPU performance and the GPU technologies increase and evolve, so does the APIs, and so do the developers utilizing APIs available for current hardware in most cases. I mean, do I need to even mention Witcher 3 and Hairworks, I mean, as an example? So it would not have been fair to take games like Far Cry 4 or Witcher 3 or Crysis 3 and put them against these cards, because the GTX 580 was the original Crysis days where it was like, can it run Crysis? Once again, Recording Jay, you're wrong. It wasn't Crysis, it was Crysis 2. The original Crysis, can it run Crysis, was kind of during the 8800 GTX and 8800 Ultra days, which, again, I owned one of those, and yeah, it didn't do a great job at running Crysis. But the 580 was around during the Crysis 2 era. Just wanted to correct myself once again in post-processing, because Recording Jay is a dumbass, and Editing Jay is a little bit smarter. I don't even know if it would have loaded with Crysis 3. So what I did instead was I took the Firestrike GPU benchmark, and then we ran it in normal, extreme, and ultra. And as you saw, the performances on there were pretty consistent when it came to the amount of increase. A little bit more than that, going from 1440p 580 to 680 at 35, but then 28, 29, and 23, where we had less of an increase going from 980 to Titan X at 1440p. So as you can see, 980 is looking like a really good sweet spot for 1440p gaming, especially compared to a card like the Titan X, which is twice the price. Now, if we look at 4K, obviously 50%, and then a 65% jump, and then 30 and 25. Where, as you can see, as cards got newer, the focus turned towards higher resolution. Because the 580, if you guys were not into PC parts when this thing was new, the 1080p was looked at like 4K now, where 1080p was that resolution like, oh man, can it run 1080p? Now everyone's like,
1080p, who cares? My phone has more pixels than 1080p.
but now 4K is obviously the thing, and now we're hearing about 5K, and obviously there was 8K that was being talked about for a little while there as well. It's kind of getting insane where pixel rate is increasing faster than GPU speed is. That's why hopefully Pascal is going to be quite the improvement. Now I wanted to say that with the pretty consistent numbers jumping, improvement-wise from generation to generation, could we predict what the next graphics card speed was going to be like from NVIDIA? I would have said yes if we were still using standard GPUs surrounded by the RAM chips that we're seeing today. However, that's all going to change, obviously, with HBM, especially with HBM Gen 2, which is what Pascal is supposed to be. Now, a lot of people have really spread some misinformation about
Pascal is supposed to be 10 times faster than Titan X. Oh my God, the 4K, can you imagine?
that's not what Jensen said. He said 10 times the compute power. So Pascal, he was talking about being a professional environment powerhouse for video editing and graphics design and direct compute and stuff like that, not gaming. The jury is still out on what's going to happen with Pascal and gaming. We're going to have to wait till at least next year to find that one out. I'm looking forward to it. But for shits and giggles, though, I also included Skunkworks in this lineup because, like I said, this was my exact graphics card right here. And I was curious as to, well, I had this card in 2010. How far has my gaming experience increased since then? Well, here are those numbers. And as you can see, it's pretty freaking, I mean, it pushed everything down so far. You can't even read the numbers on the chart for the lower end GPUs anymore. It's so squished. But we were 9.3 times faster than a single 580 at 1080p, 12 times faster than a single 580 at 1440p, and at 4K, 34.6 times faster. Remember, this isn't percent, this is times faster. That's just for fun. Holy crap, man. I don't know. Skunkworks is getting kind of old, though. It's probably time to upgrade. Well, I hope this video was fun for you guys, and like I said, I will go back and do this for AMD if I can get my hands on the cards that I need. I might have to reach out to some of the vendors and see if they have any old RMA units sitting around or something that could at least get me through the test. But otherwise, I hope you guys had fun with this sake of science type of video. Science. I like science and stuff. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you thought that this was stupid, then by all means, feel free to hit that dislike button. Believe it or not, it actually helps as well. Follow on social media if you guys want to chit-chat about random stuff and technology and all that. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching this little experiment of mine. Let me know if you want me to do more stuff like this. If you want me to do more direct comparisons, let me know what. I'm getting ready to do kind of an all-in-one water cooling shootout too, where we take a few different water coolers and see which is best. I like doing comparative videos. Shootouts are fun. It's like watching people fight. I love watching people fight. Like UFC is freaking awesome. So is Ronda Rousey. Ronda is very arousy, if you know what I mean. Yeah, but if she got me in a leg lock, I'd probably squeal like a pig. In a good way.